Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scots on the Run podcast, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in the Gordon College cross-country and track and field programs. In this episode, we're recapping two meets from this past weekend. Some of our athletes were at BU, others were up at Bowdoin. Henry Lonstein is returning to the podcast. He's going to join us in just a moment, but first, as always, Coach Miela, how have you been?
Been good, tired. It was a long weekend, but took a smaller group to BU. Just some of our top athletes, because that's where the top athletes went this past weekend, and then majority of the group up at Bowdoin. We were fortunate to beat the snow, so I think that was on top of what was a good weekend for us on the track. I think that was an additional victory. So.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to hold you to it, Coach, because I know we didn't stop at Chipotle like we usually do after the meet, because we wanted to get straight back.
That's right.
So everybody had dinner at the dining hall, but in return, you have promised.
Yes,
what?
We're going to get guacamole. We haven't talked about the guacamole rule in the podcast yet, but just do the math. Actually, when I originally did that, guacamole was like $265 for at Chipotle. It's now $285. And if you just do the math, 60 athletes, if everybody gets guac, 10 competitions throughout the season, it ends up being something like $1,600. So guacamole is per diem. You guys decide on your own, right?
Yes.
But yes, we didn't stop to beat the snow. So everybody's getting guac. The next time we get to Chipotle there. So, yeah. But yeah, transition into this weekend. Henry.
Yeah.
Welcome to the pod.
Great to be here, dude. I love the pod. I'm excited to be here, man.
So this is the second time. Well, I don't know if we did this your first year. I think this is the second time we've done this with you, where you ran at BU on Friday and you came back ran at Bowdoin. I think last year you ran at BU on Friday. You came back, you ran at Wheaton. And so you had a pretty lofty weekend. You ran the 60, 200 at BU, and then you came back, ran the 60 prelims, 60 finals at Bowdoin on Saturday. Do you like those big weekends?
Yeah, I think I do really enjoy them, just because it gives you more opportunities to run and to race, especially with races like the 60, where, yes, they're definitely taxing, and it's a lot to warm up and give your all for it, but it's only 60 meters, so it's not really killing your legs. So to be able to run that race at BU, which is a great environment, the Valentine meet is one of my favorites. Energy is just always high. To run the 200 there is always great. And then to be able to come back and kind of have a smaller environment in Wheaton and just run the 60 and just focus on that race, I definitely love it.
Yeah, right on, man. And so you capped your indoor career. I guess you're still going to run at New England's. You're going to run in some relays, but your individual career came to a close this past weekend. Are you happy with how it ended?
Absolutely. I'm happy with how it ended. I think I was very grateful to end on a PR in the 200 on Friday, and then a PR in the final in the 60 on Saturday. And so I can't be upset at that. To be able to save my best races for last is kind of exactly what you want to do as a runner, at least what I want to do as a runner, because then I know okay, at least I went out on my best leg that I could have. So I was super grateful for that. And it is weird to reflect that I am done as an individual athlete indoors. I think it hasn't really hit me, because I do still have a few relays to run in New England's indoors, and I still have an entire outdoor season left.
Right.
So I don't think I'm as sad as I will be at the end of outdoor season.
Sure.
But definitely weird to think that I'm not going to run another 60-meter dash.
Right. Well, before we move on to kind of what you're looking forward to this outdoor season, a few more questions. I'm curious. You ran 7:31 on Friday.
Yeah.
And then you proceeded to run your best ever indoor 200 later that day. And then you came back, ran 7:21, 7:18. 7:18 was a new PR for you the next day in the 60. So take us a little bit through the emotions of the weekend. And, obviously 7:31 was probably, I'll say this now, but that was the slowest time you had ran since your sophomore year.
Yeah, dude, that one hurt.
So
that one hurt.
We were we were certainly scratching our heads after that, and so just take us through kind of the weekend from an emotional standpoint for you.
Yeah, dude. I think I must have just had like a parachute on my back Friday morning and somehow took it off afternoon. And,
Sure.
Ended the weekend well. But in all honesty, I ran 7:31 and that broke me for a good 2 hours until I got to run the 200. Yep. I was like, because when you run times that you don't expect to run that are worse than you expect to run, track is so much of a mental game that it does affect you because you're like, wow, well, what else am I supposed to do? And I remember I was like, those negative thoughts were definitely coming in on Friday. Not that I was doubting myself, but I was definitely like I remember just thinking like, wow, that's not fun. Sure. I enjoy racing. I enjoy track, and I've been very grateful to have a lot of fun moments on track. And I remember I finished that race and I was like, I didn't enjoy that. I'm not enjoying this. I'm not having fun, which sucked. And we talked. You talked to me after that 60, and you talked about a Kobe Bryant story. Where he's about if he's gonna miss, whatever the story is.
He airballed 4 times as a rookie.
And he's still gonna keep shooting that next shot.
Right.
Which ties in well to what I think we've talked about in years past with, all the books that you send me to read. And
you still got one, don't
you? Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's coming back. But Chop Wood, Carry Water talks about how you have to do all the little things right, no matter what. And then Pound the Stone is a sequel to that book, and it talks about how you pound a stone 99 times it won't break, but on that 100th time it will break.
Yep.
It's not because that 100th strike was any more powerful, it's because the 99 before it were consistent. And so I think I started thinking a lot about that stuff, where it's like, okay, yeah, that wasn't my best race. It was actually one of my worst races of all time. But I trust our training, I trust my preparation, I trust my mindset, and I trust that the Lord's going to allow me to do however he wants me to do in the next few races, and I just have to give my best. And thankfully, I needed that 200.
Yeah, you did.
I needed that 200 to be a PR just for my confidence.
Sure.
And my mental state. And then I think coming off of that 200 and recognizing that on Saturday at Bowdoin that was going to be my last ever 60-meter dash.
Yep.
I think kind of combining those two things put me in a really good mental state to be able to run. And I remember thinking after that 60-meter prelims and after those finals, I was like, this was fun.
Right.
I was like, I enjoy this. I recognize why I do this. And that was a lot more fun than Friday.
Well, and I think it sounds like that's kind of the biggest lesson that you learned this weekend, right? Is keep pounding the stone, recognizing that it is a process, but also, I don't know, was it more fun because you ran 7:31? Would you do it again?
I think it's a great lesson to learn, because I don't think I've ever been you've raced with me or been coaching me through all my best races, and I've never been somebody to have that dramatic of a drop off day to day. You know what I mean? Or I'm usually pretty consistent.
Yep.
And so to be able to go one of my worst races of all time to my best race of all time
in 24 hours
is not really typical for me.
Sure.
But I think it did make it a little sweeter knowing that I can kind of push that 7:31 out of my mind, but also still recognizing that I am going to have those low moments, and that's okay, because if I stay consistent, I can still have the high moments like I did on Saturday.
Well, and it's good. Yeah, it's a good lesson, good reminder that as consistent as you have been, because again, even this season, you're so consistent. We looked at this, what you did last year, 724, 722, 724, 722, 719, whatever it was last year. Even this year, you've ran 724 and 722 again. But when you ran 728, it was like, what's wrong? Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the difference of 0.06, 0.04. It's very small. It's reaction time, It's not getting enough sleep. That's that's all it is. But so 731 was certainly out of character for you. And I think that's probably, regardless of the PRs, that's what I'm most proud of as your coach, is seeing you continue to persevere, come back and run that 200, which, like you said, I think you needed, which set you up well to run 60s well the next day. But, it's a good reminder that you are human, and that you can't just expect that same consistency all the time. Even though I think that's the consistency is what makes you great, right? And so I guess I don't know. Now that's indoor has wrapped up almost. We've still got regionals in a few weeks. What are you looking forward to outdoor?
I love outdoor, dude. I'm excited for everything about outdoor. I'm excited to run 100. 100 is definitely my favorite race, and I'm excited just to get back out onto the outdoor track and see what we can do. I'm very excited for the outdoor 200. I feel like typically my outdoor 200 is stronger than my indoor 200, just because I don't know if it's a mental thing about seeing the straightaway or whatever
Sure.
it is, but I'm just excited to get outside. I think outside just feels a lot better than indoor.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes that's hard to say when we have the weather that we do.
Sure.
But hopefully this year, we'll be in Myrtle Beach in 3 weeks.
Yep.
And I'm super excited just to get the chance to get outside, throw on the spikes, and see the sun when you step out onto the
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So I can't wait for outdoor.
Yeah, I think. What are your goals in the 1 and the 2? Do you put like number goals to what you want to do?
In my head, absolutely.
Sure.
But I've always said my goal is to run as fast as I can on that day.
Yeah.
And so I know that my goal this season is to run the fastest 100 that I possibly can this year.
Great.
And my goal in the 200 is to run the fastest 200 that I possibly can this year. I have numbers in my head that I would love to hit.
Sure.
But at the same time, like my identity isn't in those numbers. I just want to be able to give my best on the track, and so that's what I'm going to try to do this year.
Yeah. Well, love that, man. And again, by the way you finish the indoor season, I'm confident you'll get that by the outdoor. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, and you mentioned it, but the margins that you deal with in the 60, the fact that you can run a 7:18, it's a personal best, but a 7:31, which is less than a tenth and a half off of that, is something that messes up
preposterous.
your mind so terribly. So
Yeah.
that's there's a big mental aspect to that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've talked to you about that. I've talked to some of your other teammates about that. That some of our competitors, which we try not to spend too much time thinking about or looking at what they do, but I mean I've just seen people do this. They're up and down, and as we transition the conversation about the whole team, I think the consistency in this group has been one of its strong suits, right? Keenan Jones ran 7:39 3 times this year, and then he ran 7:36 this past weekend to PR. Lizzie tied her PR, but she went 8:12, 8:08, 8:05 in her 360s this year. I can't remember if there's another 60 in there somewhere for her, but again, the fact that we're within a tenth of a second every time we run, and we're consistently kind of just being steady and breaking through that ceiling. That's a mindset I've tried to shift with everybody, and even myself as a coach. Just we're here to raise the floor, not necessarily break through the ceiling every day. Because if we can raise our floor, those breakthroughs and raising that ceiling is going to be a lot easier. We can't always rely on that one-off great race that sometimes happens. We want to be consistent and then have those breakthroughs be more scheduled and planned and anticipated instead of just random. Because when you have those random great races, that's great. We now know what you're capable of. But if we don't know how to replicate it in the meets that matter, it becomes a lot more frustrating.
Sure. So other highlights. I know. Well, I don't know if Chewy broke his own record, or did you say Will Hughes broke the record for like 5 minutes?
Correct. Less than Will Hughes and Daniel Tuning were both in the long jump. Chewy set the record earlier this year at 6:43. Will Hughes jumped 6:44, and then I think Chewy was only a few spots after him. So we're literally talking 2 or 3 minutes, and then Chewy goes out and jumps a PR for himself at 6:58 and qualifies for New England in doing so. And even our jumps coach said those two got to jump together as much as possible because their energy, they fed off of each other, which was really good. That was an indoor PR for Will Hughes and his best college long jump. And then Will Hughes actually broke his own school record in the triple jump the day before at BU as well. So and he'll be at New England's for that event. That was a lot of fun. Those guys, like I said, those guys brought a lot of energy to that event.
And then on the women's side, another school record going down this weekend.
2 school records.
Yes.
And Rachel, again, we sent Rachel and Amaris, our top distancer, our top sprinter, to Boston University. Rachel never gone sub 5, even though we've known that she could do it in the mile. So she ran 4:54.75. Is that what it was? So she broke her own school record, which I believe was 5:15 before that. So taking 19 seconds off of a mile when you're already at her level, which is what we continue to be amazed at with her.
And that's only, I just looked up the outdoor men's record is, Connor Hall said that in 2021, it's a 4:54.66, so she's only 900.
Well, how often we're running outdoor miles?
I'm just saying. I know Jesse ran a 4:15 last year, but it is still, I know we don't do the outdoor mile nearly as much.
Right.
Just put in perspective Gordon's history.
Because you said that, John Time and Invitational, we're adding a men's mile.
We better.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it was great to see Rachel continue to take strides forward, especially in a race that's not her focus. One of the events of the weekend that, I mean, Jenna stood out. She was on our podcast 2 weeks ago.
And that was a 10-year record.
And that was a 10-year in the 600. It was and it was the same in the 5. The 500 was pretty old as well. So it just goes to show you. I mean, obviously I knew Jenna was talented when we recruited her. I thought she had a lot of potential, and she's just put in the work. She's great. She's an athlete you love to coach. Kind of the type of person just like, okay, and she puts her best effort into it. And we learned a lot after our first few races, and so it's been exciting to see her attack races from the very beginning, especially this past weekend where she kind of knew she might be by herself, and so we kind of talked about it beforehand, just said, hey, like, you just got to go, and she did, and she pretty much went wire to wire and just ran it by herself, and so she's really excited to not only run that race again on a bank track, but get against some competition in our region, and I mean, to qualify for regionals as a freshman in any race is pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see what she can do when she's pushed throughout the entire heat. So.
All right, well, Henry, I know you're trying to get to chapel. We're taping this a little bit earlier than we usually do in the morning. So Henry's got to get to chapel. I've got to get back to the library for a staff meeting. But just real quick before we sign off, no meet this weekend.
No meet this weekend.
Regionals coming up, and then...
That's right.
We're sleeping in, dude.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, like Henry mentioned, I guess in 3 weeks you guys are going to be down in...
We'll be down in South Carolina. So on Friday, New England Championships for Division III are February 28th and March 1st. That's a Friday-Saturday meet. Henry's going to be doing the distance medley relay on Friday, and he's going to do the 4x4 on Saturday. And both those teams we hope can break school records. Pretty much most of our relays are going to be going for school records. We have 3 men who qualified as individuals across 5 events, and then we had 6 women qualify across 9 events, I think it was, something like that. And so we'll bring a good crew down to our regional championships, and then 2 weeks from there we'll be competing down in Myrtle Beach. I mean, it's snuck up on us, and that's the one thing actually I think has happened between now and our last pod is we had our Clash fundraiser. So to everybody who donated and gave to us, thanks so much, because it's because of that we can kind of carry on this momentum from the indoor season and hopefully start our outdoor season well with not only obviously a trip that everybody's excited for from a social aspect and fun aspect, but I have made it very clear that the purpose of that trip is to start our outdoor season out well with some good weather. Because again, we anticipate it being a good weather meet. Hopefully, again, taking off the momentum from our indoor season, putting up some good marks to start the season, and then that gives us some more flexibility, especially with the way this winter's going. My hope is that we're a lot less stressed about having to race in 45-degree weather in the middle of April. So,
sure.
Hopefully we can hit some qualifying marks and start the season off well.
Yeah, and that Clash is a 3-peat.
Right? That's right.
No 3-peat in the Super Bowl. Go Birds.
That's right.
But the cross-country and track team.
That's right.
3-peats in the
That's
Clash
right.
for Tartans. So.
We will be.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll be talked about with like the Kobe and Shaq Lakers.
LeBron's Heat.
LeBron. Yeah, exactly. I think that's really what the the level that we're at. The people are talking about us here at Gordon. The three-peat in the class. Yeah, no, we were excited about that. We take it seriously. We love it, and
it's a competition.
Yeah,
we're competitive.
Hey man, I haven't lost since I've been here. I don't know what that feels like to let somebody else win that competition.
I'm excited for I hear they're doing an ESPN 30 for 30 track and field repeat. So I'm excited for that.
That's awesome. That's great. But
all right. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.